Welcome to the Young Money Podcast. My name is Diana Menezes.
And I'm Vince Galanco. And yes, this is the Young Money Podcast, where we talk to young and young at heart entrepreneurs and amazing people. And we ask them how they got to where they are. Plus, we ask about the money. We
Yes,
ask
the
them,
money question.
show me the money. Because it's not a common question that you ask, like, how much can you make in your field? How much money do you make? Should I do the same thing so I can earn that much? So it's kind of hard. I think the only times we know are for the more popular jobs, like the very globally uh I don't want to say common, but the jobs that are everywhere, like sort of like if you're an accountant maybe or a nurse, even though there's still unique things with that. But I think for those
Mhm.
jobs, because you see it in the ads, like how
Yeah,
much
yeah,
the
yeah.
salary could be.
Yeah. Usually they have a salary or they're being hired to do something. But in the case of our show, we're guessing those people that make it. And then they, right? Sometimes they
Some
work for someone, but mainly they're actually making something that is above salary.
Yes, or sometimes it's unique jobs that may
Yeah.
not have an ad for it. Like you can earn this
Yeah.
much if you do this, or even with the regular job, sometimes there's a unique take to it that people might not know. So
Exactly.
so that's why although it's not just about the money, I think
Yeah.
it's good to know.
It's not just about the money.
So that's why I'm excited because our guest he is one of the top of the top in his industry, and it's a job that I feel like a lot of creative people want to get into. It's pretty much it's
Yeah.
photography.
Especially in the Philippines.
Yeah, especially in the Philippines because people here are so creative. But
Yeah.
globally, it's just a very quote unquote it's a very useful and very sort of common job where a lot of people want
Mhm.
to do it and a lot of people do it. But fortunately for us, our guest today, he is the top of the top. He's the photographer of the stars. Like I feel like
Yeah.
he's worked with every single big name star in the Philippines, right? I heard
That's
he's
right.
worked with Diana Meneses, so
We worked
I
together ever since. Ever since I became me.
Even when I was just starting out as a blogger, I worked with him, and he was so easy to work with. I was a bit of a pain. I think he remembers this because my name was spelled wrong, and I was trying to get it changed, and he had to get involved. And like, I'm sorry, I'm a pain, but yeah, my name was spelled wrong.
Let me add to this though. Like he is someone who became successful before the social media and digitalized world was a
Right. Well,
thing, which makes it really a skill. You know what I mean? Because like it's not like you were born taking pictures with your phone and stuff, and you
oh,
know
I think he
angles.
was born taking pictures, though.
No, I
I think he
mean
had a
like
camera in
we
the.
didn't have those resources back then. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yes, we
he's
didn't have
really
the.
skilled. Yeah.
But I don't know if he wants you to reveal his age, Diana. You're like.
I think that pareho lang tayo, Char.
You
Kasi
just let
sabi
everyone
ko,
know
we
he's
didn't
old.
grow up. Hindi, I didn't have a phone kayo.
But anyway, let's bring him on. So here we go. Photographer of the stars, one of the top photographers in the Philippines, Niccolo Cosme.
Oh my God, what
Migo!
a introduction.
Haba ng introduction. Because I
Grabe.
think you're the first guest that we both know.
Ah,
Yeah.
Most of the guests,
that's
either I
amazing.
know, Diana hasn't met, or Diana knows, I haven't met. So,
Yeah.
isa lang nag-intro,
Oh,
and now we know you, so we get to talk about you.
how special, how special naman. How special.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's really funny because you remember that, and I remember that I misspelled your name.
Yeah. So it was just, I felt so bad because I was hoping the staff would just fix it, but for
That was
whatever reason
the
they couldn't, and you
yeah,
had
that
to
was
get
the
involved.
first
Like, nakakahiya.
that was that was the first time I actually met you, and I'm like, oh my God. But of course, nakakahiya din that we misspelled the name. But I remember it. I swear, I absolutely remember.
I felt shy too because I'm like, oh man, the boss had to get involved. Baka hassle ako. Oh,
Oh
but at
man,
least the
That's
good thing is
fun.
we actually met because I wouldn't have met you if the name wasn't misspelled.
that's true. That's true. I mean, things happen for a reason. So these things, it's funny because we remember it, and I think you want we will never forget. And I did learn from that,
Well,
being more mindful and being more specific with things because
mhm.
names are very important. I
Mm.
mean, if you misspell my name also, which is usually misspelled a lot of times,
Mine
Also
always.
yeah, it also pisses me
Right.
off.
Yeah, Diana. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
also, Diana, for sure.
Yeah,
Always,
absolutely.
every
Even
day.
me, the first few times, I'm like, is this spelled right? They say the name is the most important word in a person's vocabulary, their name.
Yeah, absolutely,
Because like you can say
absolutely.
any word and they won't it won't trigger anything. But you say their
Mhm.
name, they look, they.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
pronunciation
supposedly.
and spelling
Yep, yep.
is key.
I can
But
hear my name a mile away. Joke. Pero like when people "Damn," like they said my name. In my mind, I talk to myself. I'm like, sino yun?
But
I can,
Diana, can you pinpoint if it's spelled differently when you pronounce it?
yeah, joke. Some of it. Guys, 1 minute. I have a dark
okay, no
knowledge.
worries.
Don't
But
know why.
as you get your door, Nicolo, so yeah, I gave a very brief intro of you, which is just a very vague intro, which is you're one of the top photographers here. But maybe you could give our listeners, our viewers, a little bit more feedback on, what exactly you do.
Yeah, so I am a photographer and a creative director. That's how I call myself. And I'm also an advocate for HIV/AIDS, sexual health, and so GSC. So I have actually diversified into,
Sorry, just for people not familiar, please. So GSC stands for.
yeah, for sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Ayun. So we champion that. Those are some of the things that I champion in life.
I'm a part of it, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So, ayun, that's what I mainly do. Advertising photography is my bread and butter. So that's what I have been doing for the past 20 years. Um, and I have slowly evolved into venturing into the digital space. So a lot of the projects I do now is digital. Ayun. So I also do videos that are on the side. So yeah,
So talented.
very interesting times.
Do you cook
So
too?
Oh yeah, of course.
See, all talents are there.
so before the show ends, let's try to remember to get back to, in case people want to also become a part of those advocacies you're part of. Let's be sure to get back to that. But
Yeah,
the
sure.
first thing is, let's talk about your bread and butter, and the main thing with our show is your photography. Can I ask you,
Mhm.
how did you get started in that?
It's funny because um, I I actually got into photography at a very young age. Um, Siguro mga 6 years old.
Oh,
Super young, super young, and yeah, because my dad taught me how to use the film camera,
digital camera.
and then he asked me what I wanted for my birthday at 7 years old, and I asked for a camera. So I got my
Nice.
first camera at 7 years old. Sorry.
Nice.
Nag-burp ako, sorry.
Oh, we can hear. It's all good. Go ahead.
And then I started exploring digital photography after college, and I realized that it was something that I was quite fond of, and I felt that it was a sustainable thing for me to do because when you love something, when you're passionate about something, you just keep on going, right? It won't
Mm.
necessarily tire you, or you might get tired from time to time, but you will eventually get back at it because it's a passion. So I
Mm-mm.
realized that if your work is your passion, then it would be something quite interesting and it will be sustainable for you. You just need to find the balance between passion and monetizing it, right? Because sometimes your passion doesn't always translate to
Pay
monetizing
the
it, right?
bills. Correct.
Yeah. So my parents were not very approved of that. They weren't approving of it. They thought it was not a sustainable job. But I think that drove me to push myself harder to prove to them that this is something that I definitely can do as a living, as my full time job. So I was balancing a variety of different jobs in 2001 until 2006. So I was doing, I worked for Magic 89.9. I worked for GMA7. I worked for Saga Events. I worked for other things. Basta, I've done so many things, and I felt like I was a jack of all trades, master of none, because I was doing all sorts of things. But 2006 was when I got offered my first billboard. um,
Nice.
for a fashion line. And that was the time when I realized that I think I'm ready to focus on one thing. And I think I've mastered so many things, and I was also able to flesh out so many opportunities from these different jobs. Because I met people from Magic 89.9, I met celebrities from GMA7, I met models from Saga Events. All of these things played a huge part in my photography eventually. And so I realized, okay, I'm ready to let go of all of these other things and focus on photography. So that's what I did in 2006. From that one break. So that's why I believe that opportunities and breaks, when they come, you have to grab it and harness it and make use of it. So that's pretty much the journey that the beginning of my photography career. So 2006 onwards was my main photography life as a photographer.
What were you doing at these jobs? Were you a photographer for GMA, for Magic,
No,
etc.?
no. So, well, Magic was a short stint when I did news on the side. So I did news reporting. I was part of the campus patrollers, but uh, during that time, kasi graduate na ako eh. So hindi ako technically part nun. So I did several jobs with them, even for events, their events. And then JMA7, I was a writer for comedy, and I was also a segment producer for a talk show.
Okay.
Saga Events, I was a production manager or assistant production manager for several of their events.
I guess I'm trying to understand, because for our listeners, viewers who might want to be photographers as well, how did you get the break? Because it's not, you won't just. I mean, if you haven't done photography, you're not just going to randomly get a call. Hey, can you do a billboard? So how did
Mhm.
what did you do that led to that? You were doing some photography on the side, or what was it?
Yeah, interesting question. Well, I was doing photography since 2001, um,
Okay.
alongside the other jobs that I was doing, and I was slowly building my portfolio with friends. So I had a lot of friends who were models, and who would ask me to take their pictures. I remember the first time I was ever paid for a photo shoot. It was 1,000 pesos.
One
1,000
thousand.
pesos. Shoot all you can, edit all you can.
Wow.
That was the first time because I was starting and I didn't
Yeah.
have my own camera, Vince. I was borrowing cameras from my cousin because the camera that I
Wow.
had then was not professional enough. But my cousin had a more professional camera that I had borrowed for 3 years. So for 3 years, I was just borrowing cameras 2001, 2002, 2003. So I joined a photo contest, the first photo contest ever in my entire life. And it was sponsored by Giftgate and Fuji. So if
Oh
you
my God.
remember, tagal na yung ano, 'di ba,
Is Giftgate
Giftgate.
still around?
I'm not really sure actually, but for our listeners who don't know what Giftgate is, it's a shop in the mall that houses Sanrio products, meaning Hello Kitty, Sasha Kibuta, Kero Keropi,
It,
and
it
then
it
Swatch
had a lot of
watches.
random things, random
Yeah,
little gifts and stuff.
yeah,
I don't even
From
know
exactly.
what I
that.
heard, I wasn't born yet then, but from what I heard,
Ah, grabe
So
ka.
I joined that photo contest, and I told myself that if I'm gonna join, I have to win. Ganun akong ano nun, kaayabang
Competitive.
na parang
Mm.
if I'm gonna join, I have to win. If I'm not gonna win, I'm not gonna join. So parang kind of odd motivation, I guess. So anyway, I submitted a variety of different pictures of my cousins with Hello Kitty, ganyan ganyan. But anyway, to cut it short, I realized eventually na parang hindi competitive yung mga pinag-submit ko, diba? So I feel like I don't think that's competitive enough. And I saw a submission of a photo of the former President Cory Aquino wearing a Swatch watch. And I told myself, how do I compete with, a photograph of Cory Aquino? So I had this funny idea of shooting Ate Glow. I don't know if you remember Ate Glow. She used to be the impersonator of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. She's, a
okay.
really super funny comedian. Anyway, so I took her
I know.
photo together with Hello Kitty, with the mole also, because Gloria has a mole. Anyway, so it won the People's Choice Awards, and then so I was able to buy my first camera from that winning. Ayun. So that's how I got my first camera in 2003. Ayun. And then I joined the next year's competition, and I won fourth place. And then the following year, which is the third year, my third chance, my third try, I won first prize now. So I felt like it was gearing towards that, and it was also an affirmation of me being a photographer, and also I think in a way that also gave some pride to my parents, because I
Mm,
told you before, they weren't very supportive of my career as a
I
photographer, but
love when that
winning
happens.
something, being able to give them a trophy, and I get to be on the newspaper and etc., like that made them really proud. So
I'm
That's
a bit
so
of a
cool.
rebellious child, so I love when that happens.
Well,
That
I
happened to
feel,
me.
yeah, I feel like that's not even rebellious. I feel like that's just follow your passion. But the
yeah.
problem is that
Yeah.
back in
No,
the
I mean,
day,
my
yeah,
thought of like, yes,
yeah,
that's
Mhm.
yeah.
rebellious. You shouldn't do out of revenge.
I'm not sure for the younger generation today with social media, where parents get to see all these unique jobs. Parents are familiar with gamers, influencers. But back in the day, if you weren't a nurse or a doctor, a lawyer,
Mm.
parents thought you were just throwing your life away, right?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
even photography, something that's a completely legitimate job today. I mean, back
Mm.
in the day,
Mm,
parents would have thought, even maybe today, some parents might still think that, oh, you're
Yeah.
throwing your life away, right?
There were lesser people then who had ventured into photography during my time. Most especially, digital photography was an expensive thing to get into, more so for a career, because you need to get all your equipment and stuff like that. Um, yeah, but I managed. I managed naman. I'm still
Yeah,
here, so
if it's your passion, yeah, definitely
yeah.
manage.
he's amazing at it. He helped me with my portfolio as well when I was starting. Diba?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
very
right. That's
kind.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm
Revealing
sure
our
he
Okay.
helped a lot
age.
of models. Diba? Ego?
Yeah,
Grabe.
exactly.
Sorry,
So
please go
so
ahead.
so nowadays, Nicola, what's keeping you busy nowadays?
Well, there's funny. 2020 supposed to be a very rough time for all of us, but I managed to secure several accounts that would pay me um, a monthly retainer fee. So it's not a lot, but if you put them all together, it's quite sustainable. So that's what I have been working on, and being busy with for the past months, for the past year. Yeah, so it's been an interesting year, and I've mentioned earlier, um, I have diversified and have moved forward to the digital space. So a lot of the projects I do now are all digital. Apart from that, I do find myself quite busy with the organization that I established in 2011, which is called the Red Whistle, which Diana and you have been part of the past many years. Uh, so for those of you who don't know, it's a human rights volunteer organization focusing on, and I mentioned this pala earlier, on HIV and AIDS mainly. So a lot of our projects gears towards the youth. So a lot of our projects are catering to the youth and the working class.
I have a
Oh,
question.
go ahead, D.
I think recently, not recently, bago mag-pandemic, you went to Brazil or you went abroad for photography as well?
Oh, yeah, but I didn't go to Brazil. I was traveling some parts of the world. Yeah, I was in around Asia, and I was in Europe. Um, I was supposed to do this project called Become, which is a collection of 100 portraits of children from all over the world and what they want to become in life.
Nice.
So that was my dream project. Still is, but
Mm-hmm.
it got cut off because of the pandemic. So
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
yeah, so that's being sideswept for now. Um, Figuring out how I'm supposed to put it together again, or come up with something new basing from that, because I've already produced a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
although I haven't finished it yet. So
That's really nice.
Oh,
It's okay. Andrew. It's really
so
nice.
we're talking about advocacy. So what other the red whistle? Maybe we could give our listeners a little bit more about that, and the other things you mentioned earlier.
yeah, the Red Whistle I mentioned is it's a human rights volunteer program. So we focus on HIV and AIDS, LGBT rights, for example, mental health.
And
So
this
we
is the
produce,
focus on awareness for this.
yeah, awareness. So we produce a lot of contents, uh, write-ups, articles, videos, and we have just recently launched our podcast. So that's quite
So
interesting.
nice.
Also,
I saw
it's
that.
you know I told you, we definitely need to be able to explore all the possible venues for people
Yes.
to get connected and to educate people. So podcast is something very new for me. So yeah, we've just launched our first episode. So
Invite our listeners. What's the
yeah,
name of the podcast? Where can they pick it up?
yeah, you can check it out on Spotify and search "Blow the Red Whistle." So it's called Blow. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I find it so interesting, Niccolo, because well, I'm not used to call you Niccolo. Migo na lang. I call him Migo.
yeah,
For
yeah,
some reason, like from the Amiga, Amigo, we cut the A. Now it's
yeah,
Migo and Miga.
yeah.
But that's just like when it's me and Niccolo. So Migo, like people are craving for that long conversation that they don't have, especially now
Mm,
that they've been home. Of course, podcasts they have been around for a very long time, but especially now, one of the latest, like, I mean, not the latest, one of the most time span you can have is actually watching a podcast, right? Because if you're watching
mm,
anything else, your attention just goes away. But when you're like fascinated about a group of people or a couple of people just having a conversation that actually adds value to your life, it's just so
mm.
well, everybody craves for it, so I think you're on the right path, Talaga. I mean, this is good
Awesome.
that you're saying that to everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Yeah, Diana
Always
really
amazing.
likes podcasts. That's all she watches nowadays.
Yeah, I take notes. Yeah, I learn about health and
Ah,
like neuroscience research and stuff. Yeah, I'm living like a
yeah.
hermit.
So, let me bring us back to the listeners who might want to get into photography. What do you
Yes.
suggest are the steps they take if they're in college, if they're in high school, or if they're a young one out there and they want to get into photography? I know. We already shared steps where you didn't even have your own camera and you
Mm,
found ways to just borrow. But
mm.
can you give us more advice? Like, how can they get their name out there? How can they get
Yeah,
Is it easier
started?
now then? Kasi digital yung mga
Good
phone, you
question.
have cameras.
exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna actually say the same thing. This generation is quite lucky because the access to photography is super easy.
Mm-hmm.
We have mobile phones now with cameras, right? We didn't have that then,
Yeah,
until
that's what I was
until
saying.
until 2004, I think, when the first Nokia phone with the camera came out. I think that was called 6750. Am I
Wow,
right?
you remember.
Anyway, so there's a.
Either way, yeah.
I honestly, when that came out, I thought, oh my God, this is the future. Who would have thought that you could have a camera on a phone?
On your hand all the
Um,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a 2 megapixel camera or a 5 megapixel camera.
Oh my
Super.
god.
Yeah, it was.
Labo.
But that was that then back then. That was the future. No, parang that was impressive. So going back, I think that the young generation now is very lucky because access now is quite very accessible. Um, if you have a phone with the camera, which I'm sure you do, you can practice with it. You know, the framing, the lighting, everything is accessible to you. All you have to do is to find the right subject, the right moment, and capture it. So practice makes perfect. You can either go to school for it. There are workshops available. YouTube is also available. A lot of people are self-taught also, So I myself is self-taught with the photo editing. So I didn't go to school for that because we didn't have that in school back then. Um,
Interesting.
what I did was I just collected all I built my portfolio. So that's key. Building your portfolio is key. Diversifying your portfolio so that your future clients can see a wide variety of works. So if they're looking for food photography, and if you have it, then great. If they're looking for portraits, casual, professional portraits, you have it. And if you have it, that's great, right? So interior shots of hotels and architectures, if you have it, that's great. So having like a wide variety of materials for your portfolio is key. It's pivotal. It's important. So if you have that, and if you don't have that, create it. Take your time. Also, be able to screen out photos that you think are not the best. Because your portfolio has to be the best of the best, right? So if one photo makes you realize that parang, this could have been done better, don't include it. Your portfolio doesn't have to be screaming in numbers. It has to be screaming in quality, you know. So yun, so that's one tip that I can give if you're planning to start up a business in photography. Portfolio is very important, especially if you don't have a name yet, no, because you need to be able to get your name out there. There are a lot of platforms right now to get your word or your name out there.
I was gonna
Instagram,
ask you how to get
yeah.
clients for them.
Instagram it's the main, to me, the main way to get your word or name out there. Um, Curate your works on Instagram. That is something that you can just show if you don't have a website yet. If you have time now and money, you can create your professional website. That will always count. But between Instagram and website, eto ha, what if you have a website tas ang pangat naman ng work mo, 'di ba? So it doesn't make sense, right? So if you have really beautiful works but it's just on Instagram, that's still great. So these are things that you can eventually and definitely do.
I feel like it's even more discoverable on social media like Instagram.
Mm.
For website, they could probably just start out just a static. There are free sites, WordPress, blog, and is it blogger.com?
I have found a platform that's actually free. It's Google Pages.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah, it's actually free. So if you guys are looking into creating a website for yourself, you can check out Google Pages. It's for free.
there you go. Diana, you had a
Nice.
question?
Yeah. How do they start to price themselves? How do they know like, okay, this is how much I'm going to price this? Because syempre they're starting pa lang.
Mhm. When I first started with photography, I didn't have any clue about these things. That was definitely something that was ah um, difficult. Super
Yeah.
difficult. Kasi who do I ask? Is there a book to go to
Kaya
read
nga, you evaluate
prices?
yourself.
Is there
Diba?
a website to check if how to price photography works? There was none. So I started with guessing, and I started with asking people na lang, like some friends who are doing the same things. But sila din, they don't know also. So there's no central system in terms of photography. We have tried to attempt doing that before with Raymond Isaac and other photographers. We tried to come up with something that can centralize pricing, for example, and technicalities, for example, on payment schemes and all that stuff. But that didn't
Oh,
quite push
kasi
through.
diba, it's nice to remind everyone who would like to be a photographer. Sometimes you don't get your money right away.
I swear, yes,
So
100%.
please tell them it's not a
I will,
fairy
te-
tale.
I will tell that in a bit. So for pricing, right now, ito yung sa Philippines. Okay, Philippines,
Wait, is
the
this show me the money na?
Yes, it's it. You asked
You,
him to show us
yeah,
the money already. Well, it's all good. It's all good. So
yeah.
yeah. So it's our
In the
segment where we ask you
Salvis,
to.
that's
No,
your
ah,
no, no, no.
fault.
This is it's all good. Diana wanted to see the money right away.
Hindi, I was just saying, like, for example, if I'm starting and I don't have a portfolio at first
hmm.
time, how much should I
Yep.
expect? Diba yung ganun? Pero
Yes. So
sorry, Vince. Here
oh
you
no, no,
ask you
no,
the
it's all good. So
technical.
yeah, Nicola, please
Show
show
me
us the
the
money.
money.
Tell us about the money.
Sure. Okay. Sa Philippines, we charge by the layouts. Okay. So for
Mm.
those of you who don't know what that means, it means a layout is basically a setup or a change of clothes. Does that make sense? So if I'm shooting a model, for example, wearing a red gown in this particular lighting, that's one layout. But if she changes her outfit to another outfit, that's considered another layout. So
Or the
if
set
the
also?
yeah,
Late.
if the set, if she's wearing red
Uh-huh.
gown, but we change the background, we change the lighting, that's
That's
another
another
layout.
layout.
So every time you change something,
Mm-hmm.
it's called a layout. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes clients get away with using the word option. So they say, can we have this as an option? She's holding a bag.
Axe.
Okay, after that, can we have this as an option holding another bag? Ako parang, niloloko mo na ako, di ba? Kasi ibang layout na yan eh.
Pwede
So
without the bag. Oh,
in the
diba?
Philippines, we charge per layout. In other countries, they charge by the hour.
Uh, you just gave
Yeah.
also ideas to clients
Mm,
watching now. Like I never tried that before.
yeah,
I'll do that option now.
but it's not a customary practice to charge per hour in the Philippines. So medyo weird yun for the clients to hear
Mm.
that you're gonna charge per hour. Although if you ask me, I like per hour better because it makes your job faster. Because everyone will be rushing to finish, especially
Mm.
the clients. So the clients here, they're so petics, they're so relaxed.
Mm.
If it takes 24 hours, they don't care because they're
Correct.
paying you per layout. So walang feeling of rushing things and wala because they're paid by the layouts.
And they just
So
sit back all day.
so here depende yung per layout rate, no? So pwede siyang smaller lang, pwedeng bigger, depending on where the photos are gonna be used. If the photos are just for personal use, kunwari, si Diana, feeling lang niya, she's pretty today, she wants to get her photos done. And just for her personal Instagram page or whatever she wants it printed, um, it can range between siguro 3,000 pesos to 5,000 pesos per layout. Per layout. Tapos, better yan, you charge a minimum. So for example, Diana cannot book me for just one layout. So she'll have to book me, in my opinion, three minimum layouts. So that will secure me 15,000 pesos, for example, plus the studio, plus the makeup artist, plus everything else, meals, transportation, etc. So you have to put that all in consideration kasi the per layout is just for you as a
The
photographer,
photographer.
as for your talent, right? So if it's for advertising, if it's for a billboard, if it's for a print ad, if it's for a digital campaign, whatever, the price range can go from anywhere between 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 per layout. Depende yan kung sa the setup, depending on the requirements, etc. Now, if, for example, the client only needs one layout, you have to charge more. So the more layouts they put in, you can give a discount. So that's how I price. And sometimes I prefer giving more services than cutting off the cost. So kunwari, they ask for a discount. Nicolo, can we lower the 30,000 for three layouts? I usually say, oh, can I just charge 30,000? I'll give you five layouts. Because that's additional service, but you're gonna be paid the same. So sometimes I go that way.
That's great. That's great
Mm.
advice for the young
Yeah,
ones. Okay. So it's
yeah,
mostly on layout.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is is there such a thing as photography without lay? I'm totally making this up. I don't know, but is there a thing of photography without layout where let's say I just need, let's say I'm a company, I need some pictures of, I don't know, of pets, and
Of
I
what?
don't want of pets. Kunwari lang, I'm a dog food company, and
Mm-hmm.
I know a photographer. I'm like, hey, kayo na bahala mag-shoot. I just need five different dogs pictures.
Uh,
Is that is there something like
Those are
that
the
where you just
layouts.
send me photos that I need?
yeah, it depends on the relationship and the arrangement between you and your client. No? So you can just say, okay, I'll just charge you this much and then I'll give you this. Pwede
Okay.
naman ganon. Meron din tayong tinatawag na day rate. So day rate is when they pay you in a certain amount and then they'll expect you to shoot in for 8 hours. So you can charge maybe 75,000 to 100,000 for a day rate. So they can take you anywhere and wala nang bilangan ng ano yan, ng
Got it.
layouts. Wala.
Unlimited layouts.
Parang
Okay.
ganon.
But these layouts and these day rates, I feel like this is for more mid-level or advanced photographers. If it's going to be one of your first or your very first gig, what do you think will be the first gig of most photographers?
What is
Well,
fair for them to charge?
Yeah.
So like what I said, I charge 1,000 for a shoot all you can, edit all you can back in the days, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can gauge naman your capabilities and your willingness to work, right? And kunyari charge a certain amount just for um, a certain period of time. For example, I know someone, and I'm just gonna share. When I was in Siargao, I told myself na, I've never actually hired a photographer to shoot me. And I felt, okay, it would be an interesting thing to do. So I actually hired someone. I just met there. He's really super
Okay.
good, super good. And he charged me per hour um, for 2 hours. And, that was a really nice, quick, fun shoot. So walang bilangan ng layouts yon. But because I
Okay.
think that's his practice because he's from Canada. So
Okay.
I think that's his practice per hour. But, he charged me a really good rate. And I couldn't really say no to it. And it was a great experience.
Nice.
Okay. Have you ever done X deals when you were younger, when you were just starting
Mm.
out? Is that a thing photographers should do when
Yeah.
they're still building their portfolio?
X deals are
Part of our industry.
part of our industry.
It is. It
We've-
is. I know
I
it's a
have been
bane once you
I
get
have
to a
been
certain level.
yeah, I have been paid with food. I have been paid with perfume. I've been paid with all sorts of things. So
Okay.
um eto lang this is my tip for X deals. To me, I will only entertain an X deal if I have reached a specific amount or quota for a month.
For
Yeah.
for advanced and mid level, but as a beginner, don't you think you
As a
should just accept it?
beginner, as a beginner, I mean, I always ask this question: Is it worth it? Is it
Yeah.
going to benefit me? So, yun. So, those are the questions I ask. So, kunwari, lumapit si friend. O, friend ko naman siya. Diba?
Yeah.
Worth it ba to? Yes, siguro worth it siya. Magagamit ko ba to sa portfolio ko? And if I think so, then yeah, I'll do it. But you don't just want kasi for people to just assume that you're the X deal person, So
Okay.
even the tip to me kasi then was that never sell yourself too short because it's going to be difficult for you to put your market higher because people will eventually know you as that 1,000 peso photographer and you don't want that, right? So
Okay.
siguro very few big parts in your first journey as a photographer. Siguro you can explore a little bit of X deals here and there, but then always better to start pricing. It's also better to put value in your work. So for example, Diana commissions me X deal now. I'm still gonna send her an amount. So nyari, Miga, this will cost 15,000 if you're gonna pay me. So I'm also gonna ask for the same amount in return in terms of the goods that she's gonna give me. So parang there's that balance in the X dealing, whatever you call that.
That exchange.
Yeah, that exchange, right?
Okay. Okay.
Tama.
Diana, do you have any more questions before your
I
summary?
think I think
Oh, go ahead.
Diana asked a question about the payments, being
Like
so
when you
long.
started, they had the billboard, right? Like how,
Yeah.
what should they expect? Like let's say they got a campaign and then they're super excited. Nangyari kasi sa akin as a model, I got a Versace fashion show.
Hmm.
and one of my first jobs. And then when I got there, mali pala, it wasn't
Huh?
me who just got it.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but it was like, yeah, and then they sent like five models na nagkamali sila. But we really did the casting and everything. I was like celebrating. We were all celebrating. The agency was so happy. And then
Mm.
they wanted people that were 5'10" and above, and I'm 5'7", so I'm short. So, and I was like, I was so happy. Like that's a big brand. So they also pay a little bit better, even though it's just a fashion show. Plus,
Mm.
you get that okay, I have this experience, so I have this to carry with myself. So if a person is a photographer and he's starting or she's starting, and then they get a big brand, and then they're like, oh, but I'm starting. How do I charge these people?
Yeah.
How does that happen in that shift from the beginning, and then you get a big time something, and then you have to price them, and it's a big project.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
how?
yeah. How did that happen? Well, there was definitely a lot of haggling
Oh,
because
talaga?
they haggled because I was new and I was charging a certain
Mm,
amount, which I had consulted my friend about the price. No,
yeah,
so that time I had a mentor who would tell me how much
if they
should be
get oh,
charging. So
that's
that
good.
amount that I actually received was a haggled price. But to me, that was already very good because I was able
Mhm.
to move out of
Sorry, I
our
didn't hear. What did you say?
I was able to move out of my parents that time.
Ah,
So I was able
nice.
to get my own apartment. So that was really awesome.
Became
Yeah,
independent right away.
right.
Help
But
you, yeah.
I wanted to share then how some companies take so long to pay. Um,
Yun.
yeah, sometimes it takes a month, 2 months, 3 months. The
I have some
longest,
years, not
yeah,
photography,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but for me, unfortunately, I don't want to sue them other than
Mhm.
kulitin because I mean because
Hmm.
it, especially if they're big. Well, it doesn't matter because they might just not work with you again. So for us,
Right.
we've just been very patient with them na lang. For
Mm.
the most part, there were smaller companies that we did have to threaten with lawyers, but
Mm.
because years na talaga. But other than
Crazy.
that, for the most part, we just try to be patient. For you guys, kasi for individuals, for photographers, paano yun?
what do you
Yeah,
suggest? Paano
you know, magazines usually pay. I'm not sure if they changed now because I stopped shooting for magazines. But back in the days, back during my time, they would pay a month after the magazine has been released, and usually they shoot the magazine um, way in advance, right? So if I
Hmm.
shoot that magazine on December, and if it comes out in February, I will be paid in March pa,
Oh my God.
right? So
Yeah.
you actually wait that long. It's super long, right? Um, so magazines take forever to pay. Advertising agencies also take so long
Ah,
to pay.
talaga?
So yung mga maliliit na companies, yun yung mga they pay
Hmm.
after, and it's called pay after. And
Yeah,
then,
facts.
and I'm so happy when it's pay after because
Uh-huh.
you know you do your job, you get paid, and you go home.
Exactly.
Happy.
How it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
Vince, what do
Yeah,
you think?
Dan. Yeah. For me, again, we're just patient with that. But do you have any other last minute questions, Diana, before you give your summary?
Ano lang? No, I will give my summary. Do you have?
Yeah, let's give your summary now. Yeah, because we as I expected, we're past the 40-minute mark because Nicola's
Mas
fun to
masarap
talk
yun.
with.
So for anyone, nakakatutok lang po kayo dito sa Young Money Podcast. We're speaking with Niccolo Cosme. I don't need to introduce Niccolo Cosme. You guys know who he is already, but he's amazing and he's sharing with us how he started. And if you guys wanted to be a photographer one day, he shared with us that it's really primarily really his passion, and he started at practicing as young as 6 years old. His dad was able to provide him a camera and everything, and yeah, he did almost everything from radio to TV stations, and then Saga is actually a events company, right?
Yeah.
Everything, no, everything. He tried everything, and when it's your passion, never give up on it because he was given an opportunity, and he believes that opportunities are like really, really important. Because if you just say yes to things, amazing things could turn out from the ideas that you said, instead of like just being like focused on your own thing. My cat is so lit today, jumping here on the table. But yeah, guys. So what else can I tell? Okay, now be mindful also that when you're a photographer, don't expect to get paid right away because it doesn't happen all often that way unless you have like some unique clients. But also start small and start slow. Do a lot for your career, but you know, be mindful that there are a lot of people that you can actually learn from. And what else? Yeah, build your portfolio, diversify, do everything, not just fashion, not just like cosplay, not just like the thing that you like only, because you don't know your clients. Anybody could be your client. So yeah. So basically, that's what I got from Niccolo. If I want to start being a photographer, if I'm watching right now, so I hope I represented you a little bit well. There's way more than that. Watch the whole thing to catch what Nicola said to us today. And thank you, amigo. Thank you for
Wow,
being
thank you so much for that beautiful summary.
And Nicola,
shorthand.
before we head out, do you have one last piece of advice for
Yeah.
listeners or viewers right now?
I've said it earlier. Passion is sustainable when you're able to mix it together with monetizing your passion. And it's not bad to monetize your passion, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to put food on the table. So if you haven't found your passion yet, find it, because it's very important to celebrate it and to live with it. It will sustain us if we're able to find a balance between your passion and
I'm gonna quote
business.
this: monetize your passion when I post you.
Yeah, it's not bad because some people think it's bad, no, but I'm like, no,
Yeah, it's
because
not.
we need to live, right? And people should stop thinking that art is free. People always think, nah, he's an artist, he can do it for free. No, there's value in time, there's value in talent. So cultivate the talent, um, and dream big, nurture your dreams, and make them into reality.
There you
Nice.
go. And in case
Amazing.
people want to find out more about you or see your works or get you as a photographer, please share with us your
Yes,
info.
you can visit my website to know more about my work at nicolocosme.com, and Nicola is spelled with a double C. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, TikTok, Kumu, and
Nice.
Laika. Ang dami, di ba?
We have a Kumu special next week.
Yeah, on December 1. Yeah, that's correct. So please follow my socials at Niccolo Cosme. Again, Niccolo is spelled with a double C. Um, you can also check out the Red Whistle and Headshot Clinic, which are projects that I spearheaded. And I want to thank also Unwind for letting me stay here and do my podcast interview with you guys.
There you go. Thank you so much, Nicola. Ladies and gentlemen, again, one of the top photographers and the photographer of the stars here in Manila, here in the Philippines, Nicola Cosme. Thank you so much for being part of our show. Really,
Thank
cheers.
you.
Really appreciate that.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
So again, my name is Vince Galanco,
And I'm
together
Diana
with,
Menezes.
uh, and this is the Young Money Podcast, and we will see you guys next time. Bye bye.
See you next time.